Emma's painful discovery. Emma had always believed that family was her safest haven, a place where she could find unconditional love and warmth. For years, she lived in that belief, doing everything she could to support them, never doubting that her actions came from love. But one fateful evening shattered everything. Every bit of trust, every hope she had placed in her family, crumbled within seconds. That evening, Emma was preparing dinner as usual when her phone buzzed. It was a message from her aunt, someone she had always considered kind and trustworthy. At first, she thought nothing of it, assuming it was just a family video, perhaps an old memory her aunt wanted to share. Without a second thought, she wiped her hands on a towel and opened the message. But the moment she heard her mother's voice, a chilling sensation spread through her body. Emma should be grateful. Without us, she'd be nothing. She froze, her heart tightening in her chest as the words sank in. The voice was unmistakable. It was her mother. A cruel laugh followed, and then her father's voice cut through the air like a sharp blade, driving straight into her soul. A failure. But at least she's useful since she's paying for us. Emma clenched her phone tightly, a wave of dizziness washing over her. The video shook as if someone had accidentally recorded it, but the voices were unmistakably clear. No hesitation. No remorse. No love. Emma's painful awakening. If Emma ever stopped sending money, just make her feel guilty. She's too soft to say no. Laughter erupted, the voices of her entire family, including her aunt, the very person who had sent her the message. Emma felt a coldness seep into her bones, not from the weather but from the unbearable pain and betrayal tearing through her heart. She had sacrificed years of her life for them, sending money to help her parents pay off debts, covering her brother's tuition, even giving up her own dreams to ensure her family never struggled. But as she watched that video, the bitter truth sank in. They had never seen her as family. To them, she was just a source of money. Emma sat frozen, her fingers trembling over her phone screen, when suddenly, the message changed. This message has been deleted. She stared at the notification, a sharp pain stabbing through her chest. Her aunt had deleted it, realizing her mistake, panicking, trying to cover it up. Maybe she was texting the family at that very moment, assuring them that Emma hadn't seen anything. Emma should have reacted immediately. She should have called her aunt to demand answers. She should have screamed into the phone to let her family know she had seen everything. But instead, she set the phone down and stayed silent. She knew exactly what would happen if she confronted them now. They would deny everything. They would claim it was just a joke. They would twist the truth, gaslight her, make her feel guilty for even doubting them. But this time, Emma wouldn't fall into their trap. She sat for hours, replaying their words in her mind like a cruel nightmare. She had always believed her family loved her, but in reality, it had all been a lie. They didn't love her. They loved her money. The bitter truth. Emma realizes she has been used for years. Emma had convinced herself that helping her family was her responsibility, that it was simply what a good daughter and sister should do. She never hesitated when she received desperate calls from her mother, father, or brother. If they needed rent money, she sent it. If there was an overdue debt, she covered it. When her brother couldn't afford tuition, she paid for his classes, despite the fact that he never even completed his degree. Every time her father got into financial trouble, she stepped in, never once complaining. She had told herself that this is what family does for each other. But now, she saw the truth. After seeing the video her aunt had accidentally sent, Emma began rethinking everything. She remembered the countless times her mother had called, her voice dripping with fake concern, saying, "You know we have no one else to turn to, but you." Every time, Emma felt guilty if she didn't help. She recalled the moments her brother sent passive-aggressive texts, demanding why she hadn't sent the money yet, making her feel like she was letting him down if she delayed even for a moment. Her father, the man she had respected for so long, had repeatedly told her, "Family takes care of each other." But the truth was, she was the only one taking care of them. They had never lifted a finger to support her in return. Before, these memories had made her feel needed. Now, they made her feel trapped. It was all manipulation. She wasn't a daughter to them. She wasn't a sister. She was a wallet. How did she let this happen? The answer was simple. They knew exactly how to make her feel guilty. From a young age, Emma was taught that family was everything. She had always believed that if someone in the family needed help, it was her duty to provide it. When she got her first job and started earning money, her mother had said, "Your father is struggling right now. Can you help a little? Just a little?" Emma had thought, it's not a big deal. But a little never ended. Year after year, their financial needs grew, and each time Emma even thought about refusing, they would remind her of everything they had done for her when she was a child. "We raised you for all these years, and you can't help a little? Family is forever, Emma. You can't turn your back on us. Your brother needs you. You're his sister. You're supposed to take care of him." Every sentence was another invisible chain, tightening around her. Emma had convinced herself that she was doing the right thing, that her family loved her, that if she just kept giving, one day they would appreciate her. But the video shattered every illusion she had built for herself. They never loved her. They only loved what she could give them. Emma's anger, not just at them, but at herself. As the realization sank in, Emma felt something she had never allowed herself to feel before. Anger, not just at them, but at herself. She had let this go on for far too long. She had convinced herself that if she just kept giving, one day she would be loved in return. But that day never came. And it never would. For the first time in her life, Emma saw the truth with complete clarity. Her family had never seen her as a person of value. They had never cared if she was okay, if she needed help, if she was exhausted. The only thing they cared about was when her next payment would arrive. And the most terrifying part? They knew it, and they felt no guilt about it. If Emma had never seen that video, they would have continued pretending to love her, continued sending messages with fake concern, only to follow up with another financial request. They would have kept her trapped in a never-ending cycle of manipulation and guilt, ensuring she never had the courage to say no. But now, Emma knew the truth, and there was only one thing left to do. She had to stop. She couldn't keep sacrificing herself for people who didn't appreciate her. They had been right about one thing: she had never known how to say no. But that was about to change. The first time Emma says no. The next morning, as usual, Emma woke up to sunlight streaming through her window. She walked into the kitchen, brewed a cup of coffee, and took in the familiar surroundings of her home. Everything looked the same, but she felt completely different. There was a new awareness inside her. A quiet but unshakable resolve. She was no longer the Emma who automatically said yes to everything. She was no longer the Emma who believed that love had to be earned through sacrifice. And for the first time in her life, she was choosing herself first. No more guilt, no more manipulation, no more being used, and no one would ever make her feel guilty for it again. Facing the truth, Emma's breaking point. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A text from her mother. Nothing unusual, at least at first glance. "Mom. Good morning, sweetheart. Just checking in on you. How's everything?" Emma raised an eyebrow. When was the last time her mother texted just to check in without following it up with a request? She couldn't remember. Her gut told her this was just the opening act for what was coming next. And sure enough, within 2 minutes, another message appeared. "Mom, oh by the way, rent is due soon. Can you send it by Friday?" Emma smirked, but there was no joy in it, only bitterness. She had been right. All the concern, all the warmth, it was just a pretext. It wasn't love. It wasn't real worry. It was just about money. She stared at the screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Her usual response was already forming in her mind. "Of course, Mom. I'll take care of it. Don't worry, I'll send it soon." But not this time. She erased the words and instead typed 2 simple, yet powerful ones. "I can't." And then she hit send. She placed the phone down and waited. It didn't take long for the response to come. "What do you mean, you can't?" "Emma, this isn't funny. The family is counting on you. You know our situation. You can't just abandon your family like this." The texts kept coming, each one laced with pressure and guilt. Emma could picture her mother now, probably sitting on the couch, face red with anger, desperately trying to twist the situation to make Emma feel like the villain. But this time, Emma wasn't falling for it. She simply replied, "I have my own expenses to take care of this month. I'm sorry, but I can't help." And then silence. But her family wasn't used to silence. They didn't know how to handle it when she didn't cave immediately. And soon enough, her aunt's name popped up on the screen. "Aunt Emma, your mom is really worried. Are you okay? Why are you doing this?" Emma almost laughed at the hypocrisy. Her aunt was playing the role of the peacemaker, not out of genuine concern but to manipulate her into feeling guilty and falling back into place. Emma didn't reply. She took a sip of her coffee, enjoying the peace she hadn't felt in years. Not even 5 minutes later, a new text appeared. This time, from her father. "Dad, Emma, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is not how a good daughter behaves. You need to reconsider." The fake patience in his words was transparent. She knew what would come next, and right on cue, just minutes later, the threats began. "Dad, you're being selfish. It's time you grow up and take responsibility." Emma stared at the message, her grip tightening around the phone. Responsibility? Who had actually been responsible in this family? She had paid their rent for years. She had supported them like a parent when they should have been taking care of her. And the moment she said no for the first time, she was suddenly labeled as selfish. Their silence was panic. They didn't know how to handle a version of Emma that refused to be controlled. And then came the final card they always played, her younger brother. "Mom, Emma, your brother can't afford rent on his own. If he gets evicted, will you take responsibility for that?" Emma inhaled deeply. There it was. She had lost count of the number of times they used Jason as leverage. "He has no one else but you, Emma." But now, she understood the truth. She was not responsible for a grown man, and so, she didn't reply. She placed her phone down and felt something she had never felt before, relief. She knew this wasn't over. They would keep trying, but she also knew something even more important. She didn't owe them anything. For the first time in her life, Emma had said no. And she would never look back. Facing Jason, when family no longer feels like family. The pounding on her door shattered the quiet in Emma's apartment. She sat still, staring at the door, already knowing who was on the other side. She didn't need to check. It was Jason. She could have ignored it, let the knocking die down over time. But she also knew Jason wasn't the type to give up easily, especially when there was money on the line. And today, money was exactly what he wanted. Emma stood up, took a slow, deep breath, and opened the door. Jason stood there, his face twisted with frustration and confusion. His hair was a mess, his clothes wrinkled, his bloodshot eyes flickered between anger and desperation. "What the hell are you doing, Emma?" he snapped the moment the door opened. Emma crossed her arms, leaning casually against the doorframe, her expression calm. "Good morning, Jason. How are you?" Jason ran a hand through his hair aggressively. "Don't start with me, you blocked everyone's numbers? Mom is losing her mind. Dad has been calling me all night. What the hell are you thinking?" Emma looked straight into his eyes. For the first time she felt nothing. No fear, no guilt. Only cold clarity. "I'm doing what I should have done a long time ago." Jason's brow furrowed. "What the hell does that mean?" Emma shrugged. "It means I'm not the family ATM anymore." For a brief moment, Jason was stunned into silence. But then, he laughed. A bitter, mocking laugh. "Oh, come on, Emma. Not this again. Stop acting like a victim. Family helps each other, okay?" His words should have hurt. Once, they would have. But now, they only made her sick. "No, Jason. Family helps each other. But in this family, I'm the only one who has ever done the helping. I paid rent, bills, your tuition, everything. Tell me, Jason, what have you ever done for me?" Jason's jaw clenched. He had no answer. Emma watched as his fists tightened at his sides. She could see the anger building, boiling over. "So that's it? You're just cutting us off? Over some stupid misunderstanding?" Emma smirked coldly. "There's no misunderstanding, Jason. I saw the video." For the first time, true panic flickered across Jason's face. "What video?" he asked, feigning ignorance, but his voice wasn't steady anymore. Emma narrowed her eyes. She didn't need to explain. He knew. And he knew he had been caught. "I heard everything," she said, slowly, deliberately. "How you called me a failure. How the entire family laughed, saying I was only useful as long as I kept paying. How you all agreed that all you had to do was guilt-trip me into giving more. I heard it all, Jason." Jason swallowed hard. "Emma, come on. It was just a joke. No one meant it." Emma felt her anger rise. A joke? Her entire family had sat there, laughing at her, plotting how to use her, and now he dared to call it a joke? "Oh, really?" she said, her voice razor sharp. "Then why did Aunt panic and delete the message? Why did Mom start texting me like I was about to find something out?" Emma's final goodbye, closing the door for good. Emma sat at her laptop, staring at the long list of transactions she had made for her family over the years. Rent, bills, tuition, medical expenses, emergency money. She had never calculated, never asked for thanks. She had simply believed that she was doing the right thing, that her family would appreciate her, that they truly loved her. But now the truth was clear. They had never seen her as family. They had only seen her as a source of money. She had been exploited by the very people who were supposed to love her the most. Her parents had never asked if she was okay. Her brother had never checked in on her well-being. And whenever she was late in sending money, they made her feel guilty, as if she was a bad daughter, as if she owed them everything. But now? Now, Emma was no longer their puppet. She started typing an email. Subject: everything I have done for you. To my so-called family, below is a detailed list of every payment I have made for you over the years. I have paid your rent, your debts, Jason's tuition, your medical bills, and countless other expenses every time you had an urgent crisis. I did it all without ever asking for anything in return, except for love and respect. But as it turns out, the only thing I ever received was mockery behind my back. As of today, I am officially cutting ties with all of you. I am not your bank. I am not your fool. And I am done pretending that this was ever a real family. Do not call me. Do not text me. Do not try to manipulate me anymore. This door is closed forever. She attached screenshots of every single bank transfer, every single time she had bailed them out, not to ask for the money back, but to force them to face the truth. Without her, they would have had nothing, and then, with no hesitation, she hit send. Emma leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath. Within 5 minutes, her phone started vibrating non-stop. "Mom, Emma, what the hell are you doing? You're destroying this family. You're so selfish. We raised you, and this is how you repay us? Jason, you'll regret cutting us off. You'll come crawling back." Emma stared at the messages and felt nothing. Before, she would have cried, apologized, begged for their forgiveness. But now? She simply opened her contacts and blocked them all. Mom, blocked. Dad, blocked. Jason, blocked. Aunt, blocked. It was over. Emma turned off her phone, stood up, and walked out onto her balcony. A cool breeze brushed against her skin, and for the first time in years, she felt light. She owed no one anymore. She was finally free. The silent revenge. Emma takes back control. Emma sat in front of her laptop, her fingers poised over the keyboard. This was not an apology letter. It was not a plea for reconciliation. This was her final declaration. The ultimate closure to years of being manipulated, used, and disrespected. For years, Emma had lived in an illusion, believing her family loved her, that she was helping them out of genuine care. But then came the video, the one her aunt had accidentally sent her. The mocking laughter, the cruel words, the strategies they used to make sure she kept sending money. They never loved her. They only loved her money. And now, she had finally woken up. She began typing. Subject: the truth you need to face. To my so-called family, attached is a breakdown of every single dollar I have sent you over the years. I have covered your rent, your debts, your bills, your tuition, and every single so-called emergency you've had. Not once did any of you ask if I was okay. Not once did any of you check if I needed help. The only time you ever cared was when you needed money. But now? That ends today. I saw the video. I heard everything. The way you all laughed at me. The way you all mocked me for being soft. The way you all discussed how to keep manipulating me. So, let me be clear. This is the last time you will ever hear from me. From this moment forward, I am no longer your ATM. I am no longer your puppet. You are all on your own now, and I do not regret a single thing. She attached every bank statement, every payment, every sacrifice she had made, not to ask for the money back, but to make sure they knew the truth. She hit send. Then she sat back, waiting. Within minutes, her phone erupted with messages. Mom, Emma, are you serious? You're just going to abandon us? Dad, you are selfish. You owe us for raising you. Jason, you'll regret this. You'll come back. Just watch. Emma read the messages, and then, without a second thought, blocked them all. Mom, blocked. Dad, blocked. Jason, blocked. Blocked. She stood up, walked to her balcony, and let out a deep breath. For the first time in years, she felt peace. She was finally, truly free. Emma confronts Jason, the final showdown. A loud knock echoed through her apartment. Emma already knew who it was. She took her time, walking to the door, her heartbeat steady. She opened it. Jason, his face was twisted with frustration and disbelief. "What the hell are you doing, Emma?" he snapped. Emma crossed her arms, leaning casually against the doorway. "Good morning, Jason. How are you?" Jason ran a hand through his hair aggressively. "Don't start with that. You blocked everyone? Mom is freaking out. Dad is furious. You think you can just disappear?" Emma looked at him, unshaken. "Jason, you and the entire family only care now because I stopped paying." Jason gritted his teeth, his fists clenched. Silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. And then his expression changed from fear to anger. "You think you're so noble that cutting us off makes you better than us?" he sneered. "You're making a huge mistake, Emma. You'll regret turning your back on family." Emma stared at him, calm as ever. "No, Jason," she said softly. "The only mistake I made was not doing this sooner." She didn't wait for his response. She shut the door in his face. She stood there, listening as his angry footsteps faded down the hall. She knew this wasn't over. She knew Mom would call again, Dad would try to guilt-trip her, Jason might return, but she wasn't afraid anymore. For the first time in her life, she saw her family for what they truly were. For the first time, she felt no guilt for protecting herself. And for the first time, she closed the door, not just on her brother, but on the past she once accepted. This time, Emma would never look back.